Hello, welcome back. It is week 157 on Out on That Line podcast. I'm Jeff with my co-host Alex. As always, Alex, how you doing this week?
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, woo, wheeling, dealing, limousine riding, jet flying son of a gun. And I'm having a hard time keeping these alligators down.
Well, let me tell you something, Daddy. we're gonna talk about Sabrina Carpenter's new album, finally, short and sweet. But first, Alex, I've had a really great week. And can I tell you why?
Jeff, I wish you would.
So, first of all, on Saturday evening, I saw a little band named Coheed and Cambria here
Ever
at the
heard
Moody
of
Center. Ever heard of it on this podcast? Coheed and Cambria opening up for the band Incubus, playing their 20th anniversary of the Morning View album tour. So didn't listen to a ton of Incubus growing up other than what was on the radio, but it turns out like they had 8 songs that played heavily on the radio for years. So I knew a good chunk of the playlist already. Coheed played like their kind of all the hits, the bangers. So they did like In Keeping Secrets, 10 Speed of God's Blood and Burial. They did that song, A Disappearing Act, that kind of synth one off the Vaxxus 2 album. It's fantastic. Played Good Eye or Favor House Atlantic. I was about to call it Good Eye Sniper, like a noob. But overall, like put together, a good show. I would have liked to see more of the deep cuts, but that's what you get with an opener. But Incubus, I did not anticipate or appreciate their game because they were extremely good, extremely tight. The songs sounded dead on like the album, but better. Like just, how a live version should be, just had that extra little kick of energy you don't get through a set of speakers, that it takes being kind of live in person to get. Lead singer still sounds exactly the same as the radio songs. They were heavy in certain songs. They played Pardon Me, which is not from that album, but just they did an encore, and played more of the hits that I recognize. But Pardon Me was like super heavy. They had a great light show. Overall, fantastic experience. So that's how my great week kind of started, and cheating, I guess, by including that on Saturday. And then yesterday, Alex, we find out that somebody that's been talked about quite a bit on this podcast had another confession to make. And it turns out he is a fool. Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters, formerly of Nirvana, has been married 23 years, what we thought was happily. And I'm sure his wife thought as well. Dave Grohl has revealed that he has a new baby daughter, not by the wife of 23 years. Word has not come out yet about who that is, if she's another famous person. But when I tell you I feel a little vindicated, I think you can go back to many episodes in the history of this podcast and see exactly why, see the things we've said about the Foo Fighters. To find out that I was right all along. Like, I can't tell you the victory lap I was taking, in our group chat. I sent through the gif of Dashboard Confessional, vindicated. Just a really, really fantastic week to be me. Also had a good round of golf today. It's just been a fantastic time to be alive.
Yeah, it sounds like someone was getting the best of Dave. Davy Gravy, we'll call him, dipping his monkey wrench where it don't belong. But I feel bad for his daughter because she's eventually going to have to go to her high school graduation with a 70-year-old Dave Grohl just hanging out. Just hunched over with a seahorse posture, tattooed skin sagging, his hair in a Gollum-like tangle down the sides of his face. It's going to be like an old dog where you're like, I don't really want to oh, honey, you're cute. Yeah. And you're going to trot Dave Grohl out to some high school in Teterboro, New Jersey. And if I'm them, I go, no, thanks. Just money would be good. Just money. You don't have to be around, dude. It's fine. Why can't you be like a real rock star? A, and get a vasectomy. And B, leave us the hell alone and just give us money. What's this be in my life for shit?
I, for one, am looking forward to whatever songs he tries to write about this situation, given his level of songwriting talent. It is sure to be spectacular.
Yeah, it sure is. And I would also like to do a plug here. We are not sponsored, but I just want to say I've had one of these on the show before, and I consider this aesthetically, taste wise, status and community wise to be the Dave Grohl of beverages. I've got another can of douchebag juice for you, Jeff. And I love this one because it's called Convicted Melon. And I said, that's fantastic because they don't have my actual favorite flavor, which is statutory grape. So, you know, good on Liquid Death with the fucking crazy names. I don't even know if you could put that on YouTube. It might have just been demonetized. I don't know. I'm just that edgy. But I laughed and I laughed and I laughed when I saw this in the store. There weren't cans of Diet Coke. I'm winding down Diet Coke summer and take my foot off the gas after the 21st. And I said, fuck it. Why not get one of these? So let's do a little taste test.
Let's see how it is.
First of all, I did not expect it to be carbonated. That's like eating chocolate and thinking about broccoli, and all of a sudden you're like, what have I done? Carbonated, it sure tastes like a convicted melon. That's for sure.
Is it refreshing at all? I
It tastes
expect the
like
melon flavor to be refreshing.
no, it tasted like a guy fucked the melon and then they made the drink out of this. It's not good.
Well, it's a good thing you only have the entire can to go.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking great.
Can't let it go to waste.
Love it.
Terrible. Well, I feel like you wish that can of beverage was short and sweet. I'm afraid it will not be. But you know what is short and sweet, Alex? Is the name of Sabrina Carpenter's new album. And what do you say we get into it a little bit? A new heat-seeking missile from the pop world. This one's been anticipated because she's had two massive hits, Please, 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 and Espresso. I think a couple others have started to kind of get radio play as well, but those were the two that, I mean, on TikTok, radio, every day at work when I'm there. They've completely taken over, similar to Olivia Rodrigo driver's license. You know, we always kind of throw it back to that. More recently, Chaperone and Hot to Go, Pink Pony Club as well. Like these songs are massive. They're probably over 1 billion listens on Spotify at this point, I would assume, just with how popular they are. They seem to hit that mainstream. This has been a highly anticipated album because those two songs, however you feel about pop music, they're good pop songs. Like they're inventive. They sound familiar yet different, you know, kind of the best thing pop music can be and should be. What I liked about this album the most is when she said short and sweet, she wasn't lying. She was not lying. It was not a long album. I think if you stretch something like this out, I think you start to wear out that concept a little bit. I think by doing such a short album, there's 14 songs on it or something, 12 songs, even less. And there's enough variety in there. It hits on a lot of different genres. Just by the names of the songs, you can tell kind of what genres those songs are going to be in, which is kind of cool. No matter what genre it was in, there was always these very clever jokes, you know, and there's a lot of funny songs in pop music. Like Chaperone has a lot of funny bits in her music. Dua Lipa has a bunch of funny bits in her music, you know, but these were funny in like a 90s teen R-rated movie is funny, which is to say exactly my kind of humor.
Yeah, it is kind of like a Gen Z American Pie in a way. And it works perfectly. It's funny without being like Bloodhound Gang funny, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's also like frequently like very kind of, I don't want to say gross, like I was grossed out because it was hilarious and I'm disgusting, so the bar is pretty low. I'm basically Beetlejuice. But there was great. I in my reaction video that I did compared her to Chaperone and to Madonna, because Madonna was, you know, had this like sexually audacious persona for a while and did the sex book and like licked peanut butter off JFK Jr. or some shit like that. John, what are you doing? So she had this kind of like audacious kayfabe persona, and Sabrina Carpenter is doing that same kind of thing, more in a like playful, like she's not necessarily being overt with the sexuality. She's flipping it around on the subject, the guys. There's lines in this about like, I hope you don't feel objectified by me showing my friends the fucking Julian Edelman pic I took of you with your dong out in the bed. It's very funny. It's very funny without being like, it's a poopy fart fart gross out humor. Like we compare it to like an American Pie, but like nobody fucks a pie in this. There's just allusions to pie fucking and allusions to breeding fetishes and allusions to premature ejaculation. Just a lot of allusions that'll probably get this video demonetized, but that's okay. Like you said, it's a pop album. It's a perfect pop album. It's absolutely perfect. And I unironically love it. I think there's nothing wrong with being a big goony dude who proudly stands up and says, I am for Sabrina Carpenter. She's my short and sweet queen.
I think there was, I'll get into it. There's a couple songs on here that I could kind of take or leave, but it might be more that they were in comparison to the other songs on this album, which the bulk of which were extremely good. I will be perfectly honest, and I was kind of going into this like not necessarily being fair in my head about Sabrina Carpenter, because definitely Team Rodrigo, and I think I was kind of going into it thinking that Sabrina Carpenter, was kind of trying to copy Olivia Rodrigo, because they had their whole beef. Like that's Sabrina Carpenter is the one that was in Driver's License, like the
Oh my
blonde
God,
girl.
she's the blonde girl?
Yeah, so she's the one that like started dating the guy after Olivia Rodrigo and him broke up, or started at the same time. I don't know. I wasn't there. But also I guess she was hooking up with Shawn Mendes like after him and Camila Cabello broke up. And so there's a song about this. Like Taste, I think is about Camila Cabello, which is pretty funny. You learn a lot on Twitter when you're on there searching for music stuff and like pop culture stuff to talk about on the show. Like you learn a lot.
Shit, I
And
guess so.
yeah, so there's definitely some like diss songs on this album, which I thought was very interesting, because what a time to be alive it'll be in pop music if, say, you get like all of that. Olivia Rodrigo, her next album, starts taking shots. Camila Cabello, in whatever amount she's capable of, takes shots on her next album. So it's very interesting, but it's like also that song Taste, like when you think of it in the context of being about somebody and knowing who it is, like that's pretty brutal. Like
It
there's
is.
like straight up a little bit of kind of mean girl mentality going on throughout this album. But I think because there's humor to it, and she's never like directly saying who it's about, even though you can very much infer who it's about, it all lands. None of it seems out of place or like too far or any of that. It just kind of all lands right where it's supposed to, I think.
Yeah, it's not necessarily mean spirited as much as it is like a shot across the bow. And I don't want pop to turn into rap and hip hop where it's like Megan Thee Stallion's fighting with Nicki Minaj, who's fighting with Ice Spice, who's fighting with the federal government. Like I don't necessarily want like that to be a thing and for them to like bandy these things back and forth. But when you do something like this, which is not, you can't confirm that these songs are about these people. You can just heavily infer that that's what's going on. So if you're clever about it, which she is on this album, it's not mean spirited. It's not directly tied to anybody. It's the fan base kind of building the narrative, because like Taste. I wrote down two things. If Ariana Grande could do this, I would love her. And I highlighted the line, he pins you down on the carpet, makes paintings with his tongue. And then a whole chorus of girls goes, la 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 la. And I about pissed myself the first
Uh-huh.
time I listened to it.
So that's the kind of thing that I think pushes this past a lot of other pop albums that we've done on this show, is those little moments where it's the same thing that like the ad libs used to do in Eminem songs. Is those extra little touches that when you realize what he was saying or what they were for, it just added even more to that song. And so that like la la la, it took me till the third time listening through this album until I got it. Like then lightning bulb, like just immediately understood. And I was like, I've listened to this many times and enjoyed it each of those times, but like that part of it, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe she just did that in a song. So it's like the allusion to these things without necessarily saying them directly out loud which you can do that, but you can also be very generic in how you do that and it falls flat. Or when you're very clever about it and you make it so people can understand, but like they've achieved something by understanding that, it just makes it land that much more, and it improves your appreciation of that song because you've become more involved with it. You're kind of in on the joke, you're in on the secret, which is a really clever trick that, I don't know other albums where I kind of have noticed that to appreciate it about it. I'm sure this is not the very first one that's ever done something like that, but it really highlights kind of how creative you can get within this structure that's supposed to be all the same. And I think that it's a really strong effort. I think this is what, her third album or something like that, but
Fourth, I think.
fourth. So to be kind of this far into your career and then bam, all of a sudden everybody knows who you are. Your songs are everywhere, and then you deliver on that. It's got to feel pretty good.
It's got to feel amazing. And like she truly did deliver on every promise. It was short and sweet. It was fucking good. It was Clive Davis, totally structured A, B, B, C, C, B pop. The best use of Jack Antonoff ever on Please, 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 because the synths on that are perfect. They make it that like 80s glowy, the music video, you watch it and it's like, it's perfect. Chocolate and peanut butter finally together. This album has an aesthetic and it's a bubblegum pop album, but you got to get over the idea of bubblegum pop, meaning it's stupid, bad, or inconsequential, because it's none of those things. It's absolutely perfect at what it sets out to do. Those are the albums we love on this fucking show. Do they reinvent the wheel? Not necessarily. Did you have a good time? Are there hooks galore? Are you invested in this music and will you listen to it again? And the answer to all of those is yes. The song to song concepts, like let's talk about the genre hopping going around here,
Mm-hmm.
because you got Please 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 is an 80s jam. You have Bedchem is like a 90s soul quiet storm. We get country music on this album with
Mm-hmm.
Slim Pickens. We even get some fucking yacht rock. Okay, you really can have it all, Jeff. And Sabrina Carpenter is feasting right now.
Yeah. And that, what I also liked about the song Slim Pickens is that's the style of country music, is this kind of like picked tune on a stringed instrument. So it's all of these kind of like double meanings in a lot of these songs. And I felt like, I don't know if there was a whole like supposed to be a kind of a narrative concept to this, but the attention to detail on everything, it just seemed like this was such an all-in kind of effort. And again, in bubblegum pop, which is supposed to be what everybody thinks is this kind of tossed off, like it's made by formula and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of 4x4 beats in this album. They're not reinventing the wheel on anything, but they're putting some pretty cool rims on it. And I think that is what you see in Bedchem, which has that like straight 90s R&B. Like that was such a cool intro to that song, especially right after the song Coincidence, which is one I wanted to shout out, which is kind of your more just singer-songwriter strumming a guitar kind of song, but a really, really good one.
Yeah. It's very
And
Joni Mitchell, that one.
yeah, and I think that's the range. Then you go to Slim Pickens, where and I don't think she ever like totally dives into these genres like on the R&B song. Like she's not really singing it like Brandy would have sung it back in the
Sade
90s.
or
You know what I
something.
mean? Or Tony Braxton or one of these people that were doing that kind of music back then. She sang it like she sings. There was no like trying to put on a costume and like be a different person. It was just like different types of songs had different types of beats. What I liked is in Bedchem, the lyrical structure and the types of things she was saying, they fit with the kind of R&B genre. On Slim Pickens, I don't know how country she is at all. Like I don't even know where she's from, if that's even something she has done in the past. But to me, using the language that she did, it sounded like a Casey Musgrave song.
It
You know,
did. It did.
like that, and it's so good how she can do that. It's like we talked about how King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard, like album to album, will change up the genre and they just like fit in seamlessly and nail it. But you still know it's a King Giz song. I feel like it's the same thing on this album with all the different genres she dives into. At no point do you lose the sense that you're within the same album. but they all take you to a different place.
Yeah, and there's the continuity that is her personality. There's the continuity of not really steering hard into any of these genres. They're more like flavored, much like this Bad Water. They're lightly flavored with certain genres. And Slim Pickens for me, I appreciated it because it wasn't making fun of country in any way, shape, or form. Country, I always say rappers are English lit nerds. Country to me are just kind of it's sad, self-reflective, but ultimately pretty triumphant stuff. Triumph of the human spirit, done in a tongue-in-cheek way. And there's always like an interesting perspective. And I loved on this one because this is an album that takes a lot of digs at dudes without being like men are trash. It's just like, hey, if men are going to objectify women, Kitty's gonna scratch back
Mm-hmm.
in a oh so pleasant way. But you look at something like Slim Pickens, and it's not built around like the guy with the biggest hog. I love this line, Jesus, what's a girl to do? This boy doesn't even know the difference between there, and they are. Yet he's naked in my room, missing all the things he's missing. God knows that he isn't living large, a boy who's nice, that breathes. I swear he's nowhere to be seen. So she's literally talking about how low the fucking bar is and how this dude can't clear it. And it's the perfect, like the there. But hey, he's here. You go get him, cowboy. Show her them
Yeah.
albums. I just it was funny without taking the piss out of country music, and I think that's like a very successful thing that this whole album did was kind of work with different producers, try different things out, but sound consistent. It's not this weird kind of frenetic experience.
I think the to kind of piggyback on what you were saying about where she kind of talks about specific people is, without saying their names, obviously, but I think that's why none of it comes off as like a truly mean spirited or like too generalized thing, because when she's talking about these situations, it's talking about how a specific person was shitty. And sometimes when, in Slim Pickens, what she's kind of talking about, and this is kind of typically how they act, but she wasn't just outright saying like all men are trash or anything like that. She was saying this guy was trash, and this is kind of how they tend to be from my experience. So where's all the good ones? I think it's an acknowledgement that there's a better thing out there and not all things are bad. I think that's what allows you to like hear those things and not feel like she's completely generalizing and like take offense yourself to something like that. And I think I don't know if that's intentional the way, or it just happened to be that way the way she writes, but it allows you to like empathize with her situation, understand like, yeah, that guy sounds like he sucks, and not really get that much deeper into it. I think where she really dives into where you get the deeper feelings is like how she feels about things and like kind of what a situation does to her. And I think what, kind of when music's at its best, I think, and since we're talking about country, I think this is the type of music that does this the best, is talking about kind of complex issues and complex feelings in simple words. And I think when you have songs that employ humor, even if it's a kind of heartbreaking situation or was at the time that it happened, when you have these songs that imply humor, like clever wordplay, kind of vibrant music production around them, it almost like takes all the sting out of those things, allows you to kind of laugh along with her, because I think there's also a good amount of self-awareness in this album. And I think that's something we always call out as a super positive. And I think it's something we mention, what has a, kind of a common thread on all the albums that we like in this genre is if they are self-reflective and kind of very self-aware of the kind of people they are. And I think this one does extremely well with that. I don't think she ever paints herself as a saint, while she's talking about how bad these other people are. I think that's a big issue that we have with Taylor Swift, is that it's always I'm the damsel in distress, I'm the victim, while
I'm
these
the
other people
victim.
are terrible. And I think that, that might not be true for all of her music, but everything that we've talked about on this show, it certainly seems to be the
Pretty
case for.
close.
I think you don't get that with this album. I think you get somebody that's very honest about how they feel about things. They can be very confident in themselves. But I think if you pair that with like, you're also willing to admit your mistakes, you see it a lot on this album. Like you could look at Slim Pickens as her talking about how bad this guy is, but she's also talking about her picker. And then she's like, of course I picked another guy like this. You know what I mean? So I think there's also a, anything she gives out, she's like kind of hitting herself at the same time, which is, it's just balanced. It's good all the way through.
Yeah, it is. It's very balanced. And through this conversation, I think I've solidified for me what my personal definition of bubblegum pop really is. It's an aesthetic, and that aesthetic is good girls who do bad things. Because there's this, I think the best word is coquettishness. She's a coquette, where it's the eyelash batting, the lip biting, the finger twirling the hair, but then going off and like throwing these absolute daggers and some of the funniest shit you've ever heard. It's kind of like, not, I don't mean it in a gross way to invoke Lolita, but it's like the heart-shaped sunglasses, the lollipop, the bright red
Yeah.
lipstick as a cover for this incredibly savvy kind of, it's the Sour Patch Kids things, right? First they're sour, then they're sweet. But it's reverse. She seems sweet, but on the inside, she can be quite sour. And she's going to write a song about how you have a tiny dick that doesn't work, which is on this album. And I just, again, have to shout out, we've talked about how successfully she genre hops. We've talked about like our favorite word. It's not even a dirty word anymore. We upgraded it to favorite word, authenticity. There are some lines on this one, a short one in Bedchem. Come right on me. I mean, camaraderie. Great, great little thing. Then you get to a song, I think the coup de grace for me, a man who's not easily embarrassed. But this is up there for me with the Olivia Munn sexts with, I think, Chris Pine.
Yeah.
Just talking about stuff I can't talk about or we will get demonetized. Like, I'd never really blushed, but I was like, wow, Miss Munn, you put this in public print? This song is the horniest Fleetwood Mac song you've ever heard. I know you want my touch for life. If you love me right, then who knows? I might let you make me Juno. You know, I just might let you lock me down tonight. One of me is cute, but two, though, give it to me, baby. You make me want to fall in love. Later followed up by the line where she certainly does not bury the lead. I'm so fucking horny. I mean, it's a clever, I don't necessarily want to call it a breeding fetish, but it's a clever, too horny to function. So for some reason, it's this animalistic thing that like makes the idea of pregnancy hot. And she somehow turned that girl thing into a song that is good, that is fucking hysterical, and that like very nimbly moves through that, like, one of me is cute, two of me is cute. You know what I'm talking about? Make me Juno. Hopefully it's just not with Michael Cera. You know what I'm talking about? It's clever, but it's not up its own ass. It has more going on than like meets the eye, and that is a lot of the song. I think there's one or two I didn't care for either, but that's like most of the 10 out of the 12 songs on this album really thread the needle like that, where they're substantial, but they don't betray the fact that like you came here to do a pop job. So don't put a hat on a hat. Don't stand on ceremony. You came here to do bubblegum pop. You got to make it interesting. You got to make it cool. You got to have a gimmick. And I mean gimmick as a compliment. And she nailed every single one. For me, this is pretty hard and fast by it.
Yeah, I think this one, I don't know if I'm actually going to like purchase this one, but I think this is more than a stream it for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to say buy, I'll buy it on CD. I don't know if it's quite vinyl level, but I'll buy it on CD. It's just perfect pop album. I think it fits right alongside like Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa, Guts or Sour by Olivia Rodrigo. We've done a lot of great pop albums on this show, and they seem to keep coming out. So hopefully they continue to. We'll look forward to her next one. Hopefully with pop artists, like she'll come out with them pretty quick. Hopefully the next one's just as good. Be interesting if there's any response songs to any of these, because unlike you, I do appreciate a good beef. I do want to see that come over into pop music. I think that'd be fantastic.
Well, let's hope for the best, which is, a totally different outcome for both of us, but hey, whatever.
One of us will be happy. That's all.
Whatever your best is, Hope for that.
Yeah. Well, did you have any final thoughts for this week, Alex?
Yeah, I got one quick final thought percolating. And it's that youtube.com/C// out on that line is the space is the place. And let me tell you, in cyberspace, the place to be is youtube.com/C// out on that line. Turn on your notifications. Make sure you're subscribed. Do those in the different order. Subscribe, turn on your notifications, hit the bell so that you get the notifications clearly and presently. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, all this other stupid douchebag YouTube stuff that you have to say, because believe it or not, it works, especially the comment thing for the algorithm. So, where could you spend your time doing? Seeing Beetlejuice now in theaters? You could do that. I did it. Jeff did it. We both had a good time. But you'd have a better time staying home watching all of our past videos at youtube.com/C// out on that line.
That was extremely well done as always. And folks, listen to what the man says. We'll see you next time.